Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. In June of 2016, a group of Black visionaries gathered at the Slover Library in downtown Norfolk to discuss economic empowerment and community engagement within the Black community of Hampton Roads. The seeds of Black Brand, Hampton Roads Black Chamber of Commerce, were planted. 10 years later, Black Brand is laser focused on its mission to transform our local, regional, and national community through unity, education, access, opportunity, and development. Up next on Another View, meet the co-creator of Black Brand, along with some thriving business owners who credit the organization as a big part of their success. Stay tuned. Another View will be right back after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. Want to tell you about one thing happening before we get into our conversation. The Virginia Symphony Orchestra is partnering with Elation Brewing, and they're hosting their second annual A Very Merry Musical Market. Now, this is a really unique event because it's a holiday event happening on November the 19th from 6 until 8:30 p.m. at Elation Brewing in Norfolk, and it invites local artisans to be a part of a holiday market there. And so you get to check out the seasonal and classic brews, but also local artisans and the talented VSO musicians in a more casual setting beyond the concert hall. So if you're looking for something to do in November, going out, you can call 757-982-6366 for more information. So Black Brand, the word brand is in all caps, and it stands for Business, Research, Analytics, Networking, and Development. Black Brand is the region's Black Chamber of Commerce, providing opportunities for Black businesses to thrive, no matter if you're a startup or a seasoned entrepreneur. The organization is celebrating 10 years, and here to tell us more about Black Brand is co-founder and CEO Blair Durham. Hey, Blair, thank you for joining us.
How are you, Barbara? It's
great
to be here.
Thank you. And we also welcome to the show some business owners associated with Black Brand. Dr. Erica Jones is co-founder, chairman, and executive officer of the board of Silvercare Dementia Center, and also Silvercare LLC, which is a non-skilled home health care agency. Hi, Dr. Erica. How
Hello.
are you?
Thank you. How you doing, Ms. Barbara?
I'm great. Chastity Pritchett, she's the owner of Emblem Olive Oil. Hi, Chastity. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And Derek Green, he is the co-owner and head of operations for Cooking with Greens.
How are you doing, Barbara? It's great to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us. So,
Very good
Blair,
company.
I want to know, back in 2016, what was happening that caused you to bring these visionaries together and to say, you know what, we need a Black Brand?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So can I start like 2 years earlier?
Sure.
I'm trying not to start 10 years earlier. But in 2014, I actually met my husband, and he, like myself, was very, very concerned with what was happening with the community. He was writing lots of poetry, had a lot of frustration, and I had had this incredible experience as a student at Virginia Tech, doing lots of activist activity. And I was just thinking, wow, I should marry this man. We should start a nonprofit. Like, let's figure out how to help our community together. And so 2016, I think, was an interesting year. It was when we first started to see hashtags in association with police brutality. You think about some of the names. Sometimes I can't even call the names because it just makes me really, really sad. But we knew enough to know that the civil rights movement of our day was not going to be about protesting, that there was a space and a place for that, but that we should focus on economic empowerment. We wanted to focus on how we could provide more opportunities how we could really help folks that had an entrepreneurial lens or an entrepreneurial perspective to gain the skills that they needed to really start to create jobs, to start to build wealth for their family. So that's what it was. In 2016, there were a series of documentaries that came out, Hidden Colors. I remember it was at the Narrow, and I had friends that were co-hosting. We were trying to narrow down this vision. And I think it was that documentary series that helped us to go, you know what? It is economics. That has to be the focus. And so, yes, we started convening community leaders, and folks were excited. This would not be the first go around for a Black Chamber of Commerce, but that didn't intimidate us. We said, you know what? Let's see if we can get those folks' blessing. Thankfully, we were able to do that. And we gave birth to this vision together.
So for those who are unfamiliar with Black Brand, tell me exactly what it is, what you do, and who is it for?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Black Brand, and it's interesting. Black Chamber of Commerce found it in my living room. We had enough gumption to say, that is who we are, that is what we do. What it looks like on a day in, day out basis is it's programming. It is all types of content. It's workshops. It's 1, 2, and 3 day conferences. It's also access to capital. And that's really the space that we're moving into much more fully. And it's for the Black community, but it benefits the entire community because it's focused on driving that economic growth, which we know, a rising tide really does lift all boats.
So you work with startups as well as seasoned entrepreneurs, correct?
Yep. So that's sort of the other side of it. Outside of the programs and the events that we're hosting on a regular basis, we do offer 8 and 12-week cohort style programs. And those are really aimed at, so we've got our Surge Community Business Academy, which focuses on individuals that have great ideas, that are coming from low and moderate income environments, helping them to get those skills that they need to really launch or grow their business, right? A lot of times that's what we call hobbyists, right? Folks that are working full time, but they've got a business on the side. That's how you start a business. You start it on the side.
That's how I started mine.
That's how you got to start it, right? Unless you're as silly as I am, I quit my job and started full. I don't recommend it. You start a business on the side. So we help a lot of hobbyists to get their businesses off the ground. And then we also, through our B-Force Accelerator, help those that have already been in business 2 years or longer to scale. Right. So when they're thinking about, what new lines of revenue they can bring on, or how can they open a storefront, how can they go online? How can they access capital? How can they hire more people? We're trying to help them answer those questions through workshops as well as one-on-one technical assistance. We also have programs for nonprofits. And so when we think about particularly Black-led, Black-facing nonprofit organizations, we know that there are just an abundance of needs, right? Folks need to understand how they scale. What does it look like to have that nonprofit go from being my nonprofit to truly a community-based nonprofit? How do they find those grants? How do they build the community stakeholder base, et cetera? We also have Women Who Lead. So that is our professional development piece. This year we focused on specifically government contracting and skilled trades. We think about the industry or the region holistically as far as what the industry needs are, and prepare women for careers in those spaces. So it's been a heck of a ride, 10 years.
When you look back, when you think back to 2016 and you look at today, are you where you wanted to be? Or have you exceeded your goal?
I love that because I think about the strategic plan. I think about the different items that were on there. I think about our wanting to have a media platform. That's something that we were able to accomplish. I think about our wanting to have an app. I think about the membership base. So those were the kind of key core items. I think about the programming, the B-Force Accelerator, right? We had this vision for a business institute. We've been able to do that. I think our next piece is how we become a community development financial institution. That was on our initial strategic plan. So now that we have this robust pipeline of businesses, how can we ensure that we're able to provide capital to them? So that's a tough one in this environment. We're working through some challenges there, particularly with the U.S. Treasury having furloughed many of the CDFI employees. But we're still going to build out that loan fund with or without the backing of the U.S. Treasury. So yes, I would say, 80 to 90% of what we set out to do has been checked off. So it's time to
That
build
must
a
make
new
you feel
strategic
really
plan.
good. Yeah.
I mean, it makes me feel, I got to meet these folks. I got to do
I
it
know,
in community with them.
and I'm going to bring them into the conversation in just a moment. But I do want to ask you one last question.
Okay.
What is your response when people say, we have a Chamber of Commerce? Why do we need a Black
They've been
Chamber of
saying that
Commerce?
since day one. I just have to prove it, really. I just have to prove it. I think part of what we're able to do that no other chamber can do, and this is with all due respect, I work very closely with the Hampton Roads Chamber and the Peninsula Chamber and the Hispanic, all due respect, our experience is contextualized. It's a for us, by us experience. We know what it is that we struggle with. We know the particular needs that we're facing. We understand the challenges that our community is facing. And we just feel like we're in the best position to bring those resources together and then help our businesses. And it's not an affront, because guess what? If you're coming to a Black brand program, we're bringing in the ecosystem partners. We're going to do a warm handoff as you go talk to the SBDC 757 collab. But I think us there as an intermediary, it resolves a lot of challenges. It's a front door for our businesses.
And allows some businesses that would not have the opportunity to walk through that front door for you to open it for them.
That part.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
that part. Let's talk. I want to talk to these business owners
I know,
that you brought
right?
with us, right?
Can I say something about them, though, really
Sure,
quickly?
Absolutely.
So I often tell folks, Black brand, we are a product of our own process. The only way we've been able to scale is because we have always, from day one, we've been surrounded by entrepreneurs. From day one. So we've learned so much by being able to work with business owners. And so it always has to feel same, because we could not be where we are if it were not for the expertise that we've literally gained by working with business owners. So I'm just honored and humbled and love these guys. They know that too. They know that.
That is marvelous. All right, well, let's start with you, Dr. Erica Jones. So you have Silver Care Dementia Center and Silver Care LLC. And I was reading your story. It's so personal, but you turned your personal challenges into a business that is thriving. Tell us about it.
Okay, so my husband and I, we started taking care of my grandparents 8 years ago. My grandfather had vascular dementia, and my grandmother just could not take care of him on his own. So we made the choice. Of course, it sounds easy when I say it right now, but I could be here all day telling how we got there, right? But my husband and I made the choice to start taking care of them full time. We were working other jobs, and we had different goals. So that side business that you're speaking of, we started a side business. He said, well, why don't we just try a home care service? That way we can make sure that we employ people, the right people at the time, and they can help take care of my grandparents while we're at work. And so that's what we did. We thought it was just going to be a little side gig. We both got terminated, not at the same time, but my husband started working into the business full time. And he was like, well, you have this vision, but I'm not really for sure, what I'm actually doing. And I was like, but you're doing great. You're doing a good job, because he is a people person and he markets, and he would go out there to the different communities and different other home care agencies and housing developments to be able to share our material. Then I happened to lose my job after 7 years, and I couldn't believe it. So I started going into it full time as well, and I was be able to help support him as well. And then within 3 months, as we looked at how we were pushing into the market, we tripled. And for the first 2 years, my husband and I, we were scared to take a salary. We didn't want to, take a salary at all. And so we didn't. We wanted to make sure that all of our staff were being paid and we were getting things that we need. So, but we've been doing this for over 8 years now. So probably within maybe the 6th year, I can't really keep up. Time goes fast.
Yes, it does.
We were just kind of hustling, and our head was down. We were just going. And I have a business coach and her name's Kathy Taylor, and she was telling me about Black Brand. And I was like, okay, you know how you hear things. Okay, I hear you. And someone else, I can't remember who it was, but they started telling me about Black Brand as well. And I was like, wait a minute now, this is the second person I heard this. This has got to be a thing here. So I started looking it up, and then it was just right in time. The B-Force Accelerator, I can't even remember, it was 2022. I think it was right after COVID because we were still doing virtual and in person. And so I was telling my husband, I was like, hey, you know, I would like to be a part of this program, SilverCare. We can kind of, you know, learn some additional things that we maybe don't know, or can maybe expound on what we do. And because a lot of times when you're working, you just got your head down and you're just going. And then sometimes
it's hard to plan out.
Yeah. And sometimes you make mistakes and you have to go the long way around. But if you were educated more on it, you know, maybe you could avoid some of those traps. So my husband was like, well, hey, you know, you go into the cohort, participate in that. I'll make sure I keep everything with operations running, you know, smoothly. And what you learn, you bring back to me, and, you know, we'll take a look at it. And so with SilverCare, Black Brand, I tell you, it has gave us the spark to learn how to continue to network with others and how to network with others outside of our industry. You know, sometimes you're in your industry and you're in that one box. But we've learned that a lot of times that you start thinking about different processes and how you can make them work, and how to look at the data. You know, what goals are we looking for? How do you make that strategic plan? You know, it's very important. So after that, we just start getting a spark, and we've still been in business thriving, and that's all due to Black Brand being able to help us too, to be able to educate us more. And then from there, we jumped into our nonprofit because now we felt as, you know, there's nothing impossible. We can
So
do
what's
it.
the difference between SilverCare LLC and the SilverCare Dementia Center?
So the SilverCare LLC is the for-profit where we do home care services. We hire employees to go into the homes to take care of personal care needs. And the nonprofit is actually a vision of an adult daycare that's offered during the evening times for people with dementia, so their caregivers can get some rest and relaxation. And so we also offer companion care services in the home, and education and training and caregiver wellness cohorts. So, you know, that's the separate entity, but that was kind of stemmed off of my grandparents. You know, we were taking care of them full time, and it was hard. It was a lot, and we stayed at home a lot, and we started thinking of things that, hey, we would like to continue to do.
As a matter of fact, I was looking through your website. You pay a lot of attention to caregivers, and you have an event coming up.
Yes, I do. We have our first founders workshop that we're going to have one each month and for the next 12 months. And this one is going to discuss dementia, why the brain is changing, what is actually happening, how you approach those with dementia. And that way you won't have a struggle, and to be able to understand them a little bit more, because it's all about us, really. They're changing. They can't help that they're changing, but we have to learn how to change with them and not make it so much stress. And so, yes, really, when we take care of them, we're taking care of them, but the focus is for caregivers because of their health. All of that. Me and my husband have seen that from the past 8 years, taking care of my grandparents. We didn't really focus on ourselves. It was all about their schedule. And then in the meantime, we're not doing self-care.
Yeah. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. Are you trying to start a business? Are you a seasoned entrepreneur and you need some new inspiration to keep moving forward? Give us a call, ask the questions. You have the experts here at the table. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Chastity, Emblem Olive Oil.
Yes.
Nationwide,
Yes.
International even?
Starting almost. Yes.
Wow.
That's where I'm headed to. So.
And you
yeah.
started it in Chesapeake.
I did. I started in Chesapeake, and I was working corporate job, and I had the opportunity to taste some olive oil that was infused with some jalapeno peppers from someone's garden. And so I taste, I'm like, oh my, wow, this is so fresh. And I'm like, like to get into a little bit of everything and know about things. So I ended up researching olive oil, and I saw the health benefits of olive oil, and then I saw that there was no Black people in the industry. And so I'm thinking, if this information, this health side of olive oil is not getting out because of representation, then I wanted to be the person to get the information out to the community. So I started my company with doing the research and talking to olive oil producers and mentors in Australia. And I started Emblem Olive Oil in 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, at the market, starting that, and so it has been a wonderful journey. And not only, I provide fresh olive oil that's infused with different flavors to make it fun for people to cook and not have an excuse like, oh, I don't want to, if you don't want to cook with salt, then you put that flavor of olive oil in your food. And so it's become more than just an olive oil. I'm helping people to live longer and to live healthier.
And you're also working with the Native American community.
I am. So to jump into that, we're here for Black Brand, but I was at Black Brand Weekend at the conference. And so they had this forum, and it was about government contracting. And I'm thinking, now I'm looking back like, I have olive oil. What does the government, why do I need to be in here? But again, resources, they made the resources available. So I went in that workshop, and they were talking about everything else other than food, but I heard them say, get on sam.gov and get ready to get those government contracting bids. And so that night, after leaving Black Brand, the workshop, I went online, I registered my company, and it just so happened that now they're starting to understand the health benefits of olive oil, and the Native Americans, health is not as good. And so they were starting this project, and I was already prepared to bid on the contract for it's the USDA. And so I had everything together, and I end up bidding on that contract. And now we are serving thousands of Native Americans in worldwide, with olive oil. Thank you.
So you actually, though, you use you get your olive oil from a family grower. Is that what I read?
Well, yeah, I get it from one source. Okay. Family grower, yes, in Texas. But now, since I've grown so much, I've also worked with California farmers. So that's why it's always fresh. I always say, from the tree to the bottle. And so I do work with one source, which will let you know the quality of an olive oil by how many sources you do have. So, right. Yeah.
And what is the title Emblem? There's a special meaning to that.
Yes. I am big on my faith. I know that without God, I would not be here where I'm at with the company. And so Emblem, it represents wealth, it represents health, it represents abundance, and all those things that the Holy Spirit has. It's a representation of God. And so that's a part of my ministry. So each bottle, you can not know anything, but you read the back of my story and you're going to be like, oh, wow, okay, who's this guy? Maybe I need to open up my Bible, so, right. And even some of the Native Americans have reached out to me just about that. I'm like, awesome. Oh my gosh, So it Emblem, it represents all those things.
So how many employees do you have?
Well, I have one employee.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. But I always say, my farmers and the people, the manufacturers, they are a part of my team as well. Absolutely. We communicate and talk every day, and without them, I wouldn't probably be able to be right here, because they're bottling my orders as they're coming through, and they're making sure, all of my customers are satisfied.
Wow.
Yeah.
Derek,
yes,
cooking
indeed.
with greens.
Yes.
Everybody loves greens, so
Absolutely.
There you go. Tell us your story.
We are Cooking with Greens. So I'm Derek Green from Cooking with Greens. Started about 8 years ago. We were having, my dad was transitioning, so he ended up dying from ALS. And that caused me to start looking at my own health and welfare. I am a father of 6. We have 15 grandkids and 2 great-grands.
Congratulations.
I wanted to be around. I wanted to not breathe hard, bringing the groceries in, that kind of thing. So I started walking, and that walking turned into me also cooking. We were doing Facebook Live at the time, so we started with social media. We started doing Facebook Live at the time, and I would go into the kitchen and say, these are the changes that we're making, because food is medicine, and health is wealth. So we were cutting out processed foods, using more whole foods, and that went into looking at the seasonings, the way we were seasoning. We knew that salt was an issue, and especially in our community. So we stopped using as much salt, and then we stopped using manufactured salts, table salt. We started using pink Himalayan sea salt. We added kelp in there, so you get your iodine. We added fruits and vegetables. So we started eating overall healthy, and it showed in our family. That page that ended up just being a page so that I can just have a few recipes and live videos of us cooking turned into where we have a following of over like 250,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, that and that one blend that we were trying to make up ended up being 36. So we have 36 vegan blends. I say that because we have a bacon blend and a ranch blend and a cheese blend, and then also we address no salt. So we have 11 very flavorful no salt blends. We kind of blew up a little bit when Tabitha Brown, when everyone was stuck at home during the pandemic. Yep. Mm-hmm. So she started cooking a lot with our blends and putting us in her cookbook, and we ended up really growing at that time. Now we have a shop in downtown Norfolk. We have pots and pans, and all of this is actually due to the fact that we did a program like Black Brand.
Now, how did you get involved with Black Brand?
You know what? I was sitting and thinking, like, how did I get involved with Black Brand? But I believe I saw something on social media, because that's where I live. Mm-hmm. That's where our business is. So And I said, you know what, this seems interesting. We could use some work. So just being totally transparent, I come from financial illiteracy. Like my dad had a business. He was a contractor. He was the worst. Not the worst dad. Not the worst dad. Let me strengthen this.
He was the worst business person.
He was the worst business person. I mean, we weren't taught anything about savings or credit or anything like that, to the point where I stumbled through life and with my children, not really having any established financial literacy. Black Brand allowed us to be able to start looking at things. I think it was sad to say, but I think it was maybe the year before we started Black Brand when we said, hey, we need a mission statement and a business account. Like that bad. So it's important to have programs like this, because you do not understand. We are on a different playing field. A lot of other cultures take for granted that you should know these type of things because they are generational. There are a lot of people that are coming from different areas of life, and they don't have necessary. And people will look at me and be like, "Oh, he's got it all together," but I was just getting it together. And Black Brand was definitely integral in that.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about Black Brand, Hampton Roads Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, celebrating its 10th year. Our guests are co-founder and CEO Blair Durham, Dr. Erica Jones, co-founder of Silvercare Dementia Center and Silvercare LLC, Chastity Pritchett, owner of Emblem Olive Oil, and Derek Green, co-owner and head of operations for Cooking with Greens. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Patricia joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Patricia, you're on the air.
Hi, my question is for Blair. During the pandemic, approximately 41% of Black businesses closed permanently. Do you see similar statistics locally, and what are the challenges overall that you see in Black businesses regrouping after the pandemic?
Thank you, Patricia, for the call. We appreciate it. Blair.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting statistic that I spent some time with during and after the pandemic. I think it's interesting, though, because most Black-owned businesses fail generally, right? And so to then add to that what took place with the pandemic and all of that as well, yes, we were looking at devastation, and I think that's why you saw so many new resources coming online. during that time. Everything from support that was being provided by the SBA to things happening at the state level. Very thankfully, because of the pandemic, we received significant capital to be able to scale B-Force Accelerator, right? We initially thought that our kind of first big program out would be for brand new business owners. But we had a huge foundation kind of say, no, because of the pandemic, we'd really love to work with you to focus on businesses that currently operate so that they can get the supports that they need. And so it's interesting. There is some new data that I would implore you to take a look at. Earlier this year, the Brookings Institute put out a nationwide study. And I love how they did it because there's a specific focus on the Hampton Roads MSA. And they were able to demonstrate that in the last 6 years, there are more new Black employer firms than there have been in the last 2 decades. That, to me, is a testament to the work that we've been putting in. Heretofore, 96% of Black-owned businesses are one-person businesses. But to think about us actually getting into that job creation space, that says something. That's huge, and that's where wealth is.
I want to go back
built.
to a point that you made, though, because talking about how overall Black businesses struggle to succeed. What are some of the factors that keep Black businesses from being successful?
I think there are a few. So the first I would say is social capital, not even knowing who we need to know, right? And so we try and help our businesses to build what we call their climb team. They need a CPA, they need a lawyer, they need an insurance professional, they need a marketing professional, and they need a banker. They need that team. And likely if you get the first one, if you start with the banker can help you to get the other 4. We need these advisors in order to help us build a sound business. So that's the social capital piece. Then the knowledge capital piece, right? So just to the point that Derek was just making.
I was going to say that point you made was profound.
Because
we don't have that passed down generation to generation.
And I think about this, and I love my mother. Mom, I love you. On our kitchen table, we had a television set. So during dinner, we were typically watching Jeopardy. So we were learning something because we were watching Jeopardy. But we were not talking about money. Yeah. We didn't have those conversations. And so those are conversations that we love to facilitate at Black Brand. We love to talk about money. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how it works and how it doesn't work, So that's the knowledge capital piece. Then it's the resource capital. Right. So understanding the full gamut of the ecosystem, all of the players that are there, what supports exist, it makes a difference. We need to know who to pick up the phone and call for anything. And I think that's part of what we're providing. And then finally, probably the biggest is the financial capital. The access to capital is still, just across the board. A lot of people talk about venture capital and how we only get, I think it's less than 1%. Of venture capital, but really it's the same for all capital. We're not getting loans at the same rate as our white counterparts. And that's a part of the gap that we're solving for, is making sure our people are prepared to receive a loan.
I noticed something out of all of you all's stories. None of you said, I, from day one, wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely not.
You all talked about your day jobs. So how scary was it for you to make that switch?
Well,
Sandra,
I can say that years ago, my husband and I, we had started a business. We had started a cleaning service, and it was doing very well. He actually was doing his master's project, and when we started working together doing a project, we was like, wait a minute, we can do this, So we actually started a cleaning business, but he was the main focus of it, and I was like, I want to keep the job, I want to keep the insurance, while you do that. And so I helped behind the scenes, and he had a motorcycle accident, and it just took him out for about a year. And I was fearful to step into his shoes, because I just kind of compared myself. I was like, I can't speak like he speak, I don't know too much about it. And so we kind of just let it go. And so just the fact of when this opportunity came around again, you know, I still kind of had that same fear, but I had matured a little bit more than that. And like I said, when I thought it was going to be a side job, that's what I thought it was going to be. I was like, we need to keep our jobs. And but when we were forced out, and we was forced out for a reason, because I do believe I kept saying, hey, I want to go into this full time, but I had my own timeline. And God said, no, she ain't going to let this job go. She not going to let this job go. I got something
probably
greater.
if you had not been forced out, do you think that you would have done it ultimately?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That timeline would have kept being pushed back further, because I was kind of looking at the natural of everything, the insurance, all these kind of things. How are we going to do this, you know? And so when we were both forced out, it was like, we just go full-fledged into this.
Yeah.
So
It was super scary for us. It was super scary. Again,
Did you work with your wife, by the way?
I work with my wife.
Yeah,
and when
please
I say
mention
us,
her name, because I know.
my beautiful wife, Anita, in
Yes.
case she's listening.
I don't
like,
want
you
you to
didn't
get
say
in trouble.
anything about me. But it was super, super scary for us for two reasons. One, because just the whole financial illiteracy piece. We quit our jobs during COVID. So we started getting I'll just give you like a little, I'll digress for a teeny bit. I used to be a head of security for a major pharmaceutical company, to the point where I lived in one of their houses and paid like $500 a month for like a 5.5 bedroom house. And then one day they sold the plant and they said, the new owners do not want to be landlords. You still have a job. And I had just pulled my mom into the house because none of my kids were home anymore, and she was living alone. So it's like, we got room, come on. 3 weeks later. So now my mom doesn't have a home, and we do not have a home. So we kind of said, all right, let's look around. And at the time I was in New Jersey. Let's look around in New Jersey and see what things cost, because we've been here for like for decades. We've been here. Let's see. And then we're like, oh my God, we cannot afford anything. So my mom happened to mention, hey, maybe let's look and see if you can get a job in in Virginia. Because I went to school here. My wife's from here. We used to live here when we were younger. So I thought I found a job. See, I said I thought I found a job there. And so we packed up. We had like 3 weeks. We packed up. I was like, you know what? I got an interview lined up. You know, I've got this. They promised me this job. It was on my birthday. My birthday's October 8th, by the way. Drove down to Virginia, and the job fell through before we even got here. So now we're living in a hotel with all of our stuff in storage. We started going harder with our content, and to the point where we were just making more money. Of course, we had to have some subpar jobs at the meantime. We were making more money doing our products than we were. And my wife quit in August of 2019, and she was frightened. I mean, she looks at still today, she looks at the bank account first thing in the morning. And if she's starting to get the point that when the money goes down and things are being taken care of, it's okay. You know, it'll go back up again.
Yeah.
And then that February 2020, I quit the last day of February. I gave my 2-week notice before that, and I was like, and you know what happened March 2020, right?
The whole world shut down.
We were okay for something in the water as a vendor and a lot of other stuff. So it was super frightening, and we just had to, run
the gamut,
hit the ground and run. Yep.
Madam Chastity.
Yeah, so olive oil wasn't my first business. I was into fashion. I would go and clean up like people's closets and style them for different videos, and I also designed shoes. But I still had my day job because I learned that those things were just hobbies. So just like Erica mentioned, I was concerned about insurance and things of that. So they literally had to kick me out. So I was laid off during COVID, and so hey, I'm like, okay, I'm laid off. Now I can put all of my time and energy in my olive oil, and I've been full-time in that ever since. So it's scary, but then you're like, okay, it was all worth it, to leave and do the thing that you're really most passionate about.
And that passion is important. Let's talk to Jay in Norfolk. Hi, Jay. You're on the air.
Hi, Barbara. How are you?
Okay.
So I was a proud participant of the B-Force Accelerator Program. My organization, Keeping Us Secure and Prosperous, we focus on food access and sustainable practices. And when we were starting out, our foundation, we were thinking we were doing everything right, but we got to be in these rooms with others that are in business on all different levels, got partnered with a great mentor, consultants to help us. And even now, just being able to see our own growth as an organization, to see my personal growth, to see those in the cohort after, and as well as B-Force, the immense growth that's happened overall and the impact that's being made is substantial. I also was able to be a part of the Women Who Lead cohort as well, the first cohort, and it's just an amazing experience because I think it was mentioned that, sometimes we are in our own space, our own head, and especially in the nonprofit space, we can get burnout. And so it's just an amazing opportunity to, again, be with like-minded people on all different paths and, parts of their journey, but to come together, to know where you can go for help and assistance, to have that community around you, and just to help build the economic structure of our community. I think it's been immensely impactful, and I love and am so honored to be a part of Black Brand, to have met and be able to experience Blair and all the other entrepreneurs that I've been able to come across.
Oh, that is fantastic. Thank you, Jay, for the call.
Very
we appreciate
sweet,
that. Go
Jay.
ahead. Go ahead, Blair.
Good to hear your voice. The last time I saw Jay, she gave me a beautiful plant. That plant is thriving, just so you know. Just like you. Oh, very sweet. Very sweet. We love to hear that.
So, Blair, when you look across the landscape and you run into all kinds of entrepreneurs and those who want to be entrepreneurs, what are some of the biggest challenges, I'll say, that business owners face or that they need to think about before they just jump in? All of our beautiful businesses here, they also had a passion, and some of it was side, but at some point you gotta zero in and decide, I'm going to be serious about this thing. So
I think they had more than that.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on mindset for this one. Yeah. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody
At all.
If you don't like being someone else's employee, you might hate being your own employee.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it may not go well. There is way more work that is required than what is promoted on social media.
So talk about some of that. Some of the let's talk some reality. Yeah. What's some people that they need to be thinking about?
You're gonna work more hours for yourself than you ever do. You're gonna have, it's gonna be 8, 10, and 12-hour days if you're really gonna be
or more
successful. You're gonna go without a paycheck. I went 5 years without a paycheck, any paycheck at all. That level of sacrifice. You got to count those costs. And I'm not here to discourage anyone from thinking about entrepreneurship. But I am here to set the record straight that it is very challenging, and you may not see a reward.
Yeah,
Sometimes there's far greater risk.
I'm sorry.
No,
don't become an entrepreneur because you don't like working.
Exactly.
That's what a lot of people think in the back of their mind.
If I can work for myself, I can do whatever I want whenever I want.
Yeah. You can.
You can, but
that may
you're
not
going to be working.
Yeah.
How difficult is it for particularly people in our community to learn to network with people from all communities? Because especially when we're talking about the financial piece, or about a venture capitalist supporting us or so forth. Do you do a lot of work with helping people learn how to properly network so that they can get
That's
ahead?
A good question, because racism is real, right? And we don't always know who we can trust. I would say the challenge is real. As I mentioned before, though, I think that lead-in that we're able to help provide, it does help to level the playing field. When we think about our demo day experience, right, where there's typically 15 to 20 bankers on site, a lot of whom don't look like us, that can be a moment for an entrepreneur to then have to present their business and ask questions. So some of that soft skills training is a part of what we're providing, helping people to understand that they are the opportunity. It's not necessarily about the other person. It's about who we are and what we're bringing to the table. can I just mention this really quickly
Sure.
too? Even in thinking about how we've designed our Black Diamond Weekend this year,
And I was going to that's actually a great segue, because I was going to ask you to tell me about
yes.
Black Diamond Weekend.
it is the most diverse in terms of our speakers, in terms of our content, because we're here. This is the reality. We don't live in a segregated reality. We're required to work with one another, and
Absolutely.
it can be a positive experience. It can be a building. So I'm looking forward to it. So that's my encouragement, right? Be at the event. It's not just for Black folks.
Yeah, so tell us about it though. When is it, and where is it, and what do people expect from it?
Yes, November 13th through 15th, we host Black Diamond Weekend. It is our official 10th anniversary celebration. It is 55 sessions of content, 6 different plenaries, breakouts focused on everything
Of
from
which I have the pleasure of emceeing one of them.
yes. All the moderators. This year we've leaned in on a regional theme. So we have a plenary for each of the 7 cities. There is, like I mentioned, a focus on what nonprofits need. We're thinking about tech and innovation. There is a health track this year because we really can't do this. I mean, we got 2 health. Actually, we got everybody here.
Everybody here is in the health field.
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. And so we're going to have those conversations as well. Some really, really cool kind of cultural activations. We've never really done anything cultural. Typically when you come business.
Yeah.
But this year we're going to talk about hair a little bit. We're going to talk about fashion a little bit, and we're going to talk about food and ancestral remedies. I'm really excited about those. A comedy show on Thursday night because we have some hilarious local comedians.
And I think you're featuring one of our roundtable pundits,
Moore,
Allison Moore. Absolutely.
Who is unbelievably hilarious. Looking forward to that. Friday night, a denim and diamonds themed party. So, you can think about what you want to wear to that. A little bit of an open mic experience, some karaoke if you got. I know a lot of us got some. So bring that. And then our gala on Saturday night. So we're honoring some heavy hitting community leaders. And then we've also got some big announcements we're going to make about our sustainability at that event. So BDW, it is my favorite time of year. It really is. We put together all the things that we do across the year into this one event, and then I cry when it's over because I love it so much.
So what is the future of BlackBerry?
Yeah, good question. We are leaning in from a capital access perspective. I mentioned that. So we're building out that loan fund to hopefully be certified by the U.S. Treasury as a community development financial institution. We're thinking about how we can decrease our dependence on grants of all types. I think one thing we've learned this year is the fact that someone says our mission is not as important doesn't mean that it's actually not as important.
Absolutely.
It just means that we have to have our own backing to keep that thing alive. So we're thinking about how we earn revenue. We're looking at real estate models. We're networking with people across the country, practitioners that do this work, that have scaled this work, so that we can become the real institution that I know we need to be. It's cool that we have made impact. It's cool, but we have to be able to sustain the impact. We got to be alive for generations to come, being able to do this work. So that's our focus right now is let's sustain this thing.
So a question for all of you all, with today's economic environment, and economic and political environment, are you optimistic about your businesses still? Are you optimistic about the continued growth of Black business? Or are you going, Derek?
I feel like I have to, as the head of an entity, I have to always be optimistic. I have to always be embracing potential failure because those are the steps to successes. I got to the point in my life where, when I was younger, failure scared me. I mean, I didn't do a lot of things because, what if people see me? What if they laugh? What if it doesn't work out? What if I'm not smart enough? What if I don't have enough money? So I feel like I need to, because there is potential for failure for sure with what's going on in our world right now. But I'm going to continue to embrace it and turn it into success.
Yeah.
Chastity.
Yeah, I am very optimistic. If I got through COVID, which was just starting my business and already ended up being a 6-figure business within a year, if I made it through that, then I know this is just something else that Emblem is just going to have to make it through. So I believe that, health is always number one, no matter, people care about their health. People want to eat healthier. And I provide a product, but also a service that allows people to do that. We just don't show up as people see them in the company. And so I think that builds trust and stability for Emblem Olive Oil as well. So I'm always hopeful, and I know this is going to be a turnaround season. So,
okay,
yeah.
Erica.
Oh yes, I'm optimistic. From where we started at 0 to where we are now, and we're in an industry that people are going to continue to age. There's still going to be disabilities and things that people are always going to need help. And yes, I see things that's going on. I see it, but we're already into our next planning phase of what we're trying to do next.
Okay, so you're continuing to grow. Education seems to be the other thread that goes through all of this. No matter how long you've been in business or not, you still need to be educated. All right, we got about a minute and a half left. I want each of you to give one piece of advice to a potential entrepreneur. Blair.
We talked about this question in the foyer. Just one piece of
advice.
Just
one, real quick.
I would say, don't go it alone. I know we start our businesses because, we want to be in business for ourselves, but we've got to do it in community. So find ways to connect with other entrepreneurs. It's a must.
Erica?
That's a must. You have to be able to be open to, education and other people just because they don't look like you. You never know what the next person has and what kind of resource that you can go from there.
Okay. Chastity.
Don't make excuses. Find resources. No excuses. So.
Okay. And Derek?
I'm not going to say resources, but I'm gonna just touch back on what I just said. Conquer your fear of failure. 8 years ago, none of this was. I wasn't cooking. I didn't have a shop. We didn't have a cooking brand. Since then, we've opened a shop. I've been on MasterChef. We have a cookbook. This is because I stopped being afraid to say yes.
You became an artist too.
I became an artist in 5 years.
You that's right.
I started painting 5 years ago.
Became an artist also.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations, all of you all. Yeah, Congratulations, Blair, on 10 years and counting. And if people want to know more about Black Brand Weekend, where do they go?
Yep. So blackdiamondweekend.com.
Black Diamond Weekend.
Yep. Blackdiamondweekend.com. All the details are on there. All the speakers. I think we got like 75 speakers this year.
Wow.
All the sessions are outlined there. We got a few tickets left. I heard we're right at selling out. So
jump on it.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Okay. And audience, thank you so much for joining us today. I do want to tell you one thing that Lisa asked me to tell you all about. There are still seats available for the premiere of WHRO's newest documentary on the Virginia Symphony Orchestra Fellows. It's an amazing program designed to bring more musicians of color into the orchestral music. And our team followed 4 talented musicians through the VSO's year-long program. You can register at whro.org/events. And also, don't forget, we are broadcasting live from Fort Monroe on what's the date, Lisa? November 6th, Thursday, November the 6th. Go to whro.org/events and sign up. Next week on Another View, new help in Hampton Roads for those struggling with a mental health crisis. Dr. Keith Newby joins me for Another View on Health. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer. And Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Hey, be sure to support Black businesses. It's good business for the entire community. Let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever. Whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.